Let your imagination soar with Audible. With stories across every genre, from expert advice to fantasy, you'll be inspired to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. Listening can even lead to a positive change in your mood, habits, and overall well-being. As an Audible member, you'll get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog, including bestsellers and new releases. Allow yourself to delve into the spooky this season by listening to classics like Stephen King's The Shining and Pet Sematary. There's more to imagine when you listen. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Welcome to our podcast, A Better Way Road. What choice will you make? What road will you take? I'm your very grateful host, Telda. I believe that there's a crisis of crime due in part to a crisis of choice. We come together on A Better Way Road to help in navigating the journey of choice making in a judgment-free lane. We're sharing the stories of people who are finding a better way. Now, we're not experts. Any advice or opinions are solely the pathways of our guests. So buckle up, pack some snacks, and let's begin our trip up A Better Way Road. And talk it out together about a better way, better way. Better way, better way. Better way, better way. I'm so proud of you, 'cause you choose a better way. Welcome to A Better Way Road. I want to welcome a dear, cherished friend of mine for over 35 years. I want to welcome to the show, Sandy. Sandy, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Venus. As you know, it's so good to be with you always.
Yes, we have a blast. Back up a little bit. I'm looking over my shoulder at the building, the Citizens Energy Group building, in which we first met, started our professional careers. You, of course, were a few years down the road and we began our friendship then. So I absolutely consider this a full circle moment, and I am so absolutely grateful to have you on today.
Oh, well, thank you. I am glad to be here. And now that you mention it, yes, this is as close as we're going to get to the site where we met.
Yes.
And a long time ago.
Well, we're talking about long-term friendships today and the benefits of that. But I want to talk about the days and the times that we sort of sometimes maybe don't see each other as often, or we don't get to connect as often. Sandy and I, again, we have an arc of time, but we make sure that we get together at least once a year and get together and chit and chat. So I'm going to talk about that and what that means, but I absolutely cherish any and all time that we have. And I just thank you for that, Sandy.
Amen.
So I'll start with, we're going to talk about the value of long-term friendships, and we're going to lean kind of heavily into the influence of our friends. So we're going to talk about, I'm kind of basing this on what I call the Book of Wisdom, which I find in Proverbs. Now, of course, you choose any, knowledge base that you want, any meditational materials or tools that you have. But I'm leaning into Proverbs 27:19, and it says, "You see your face in a mirror, and your thoughts in the minds of others." So that says to me that friends have a great influence on one another. Sandy, how are you reading that?
That's an interesting question.
Okay.
But I always say or always think that you are as close as anyone to being like me on the inside.
Ooh, I like that. Say that again.
If I can
Yes.
remember.
Oh, yeah, no, I got the
That-
essence of it.
Yeah, that Venus Short is most like me on the inside than anybody else I know.
Wow.
And that means that we can talk about anything. We're on the same wavelength. We can almost understand each other beyond the words.
Wow. I love that. Yeah, because oftentimes words kind of get in the way. And we can look at each other and just sort of, even before the first breath is spoken, sort of get a good feel for what's going on. And that's a treasure. I treasure that. I treasure you. But anyway, we'll move into how friends influence each other, and the foundation being that we should the choices and friends that you make should make you a better person. And then you, in turn, should make you a better version of yourself, and you again with them. So, in our quest for what choice will you make and what road will you take, what do you think about picking friends, Sandy?
I think that most of the time, our individual paths through life intersect with others many, many times a day, even. So I think it's God's gift when you intersect with that person that you click with.
Oh, okay.
And I would say that you and I, that happened like immediately.
You took the words out of my mouth. We literally clicked immediately. Like we were trying to contain her. Sandy interviewed me, and I'm trying to be very professional and had my interview voice on. And I'm thinking, now, I really like her. Whether I get the job or not, I want to hang out with her.
Exactly. And it was this mutual click, and that's the best way I can describe it. And I think that, again, it's a gift from God in my mind.
Yes.
That we came together in that way. And so, in a way, it's a lot of people would say it's a coincidence. No. With us, I mean, God meant that to happen and meant for us to be friends all these years later.
Yes.
And I think, so as far as choosing, I wasn't that day on the lookout for a lifelong best friend, but there it was. And I think it's being open to seizing on that click and not letting it go.
Oh, I like that.
Because I think best friends, long-term friends, it's fun. I think we're each other's role models in different ways. I mean, I've talked to you. You were such a role model, your faith.
Oh, thank you.
And that's at a time when I wasn't spending a lot of time in church.
Sure, you were early in your journey.
Yeah. And so you were my role model, and I would hope that, I served in the same way for you.
Absolutely.
In different ways. Longtime friends, I think, are their biggest fans.
Yes.
We can talk about anything. And I think that the length of time, you build trust over time.
Yes.
So, and you talked about we don't see each other all that often, but we pick right up where we left off.
Oh, I love that. A bookmark.
Yeah, it's like no time has gone by.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how much time. My husband will say, well, have you talked to Venus lately? And I'll say, well, no. Well, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
And I'm not sure that he understands that fully.
No.
Although he knows we feed off of each other.
Yeah, and some folks, and I'm not saying anything yay or nay about social media, but if you don't respond on a quick and regular basis, then your friendship is called into question, whereas you said, the basis of that is just being able to go a long period of time. And if we need each other, we certainly call on each other.
Absolutely.
So, and I'll bring a funny thing up that we have a yearly date that we just set aside, for us to kind of just hang out. And so I love Maya Angelou says, she's one of my favorite authors. She says, you need a friend who will make you laugh, but who will also let you cry. So I love when we met at Penrod this year. And if you've not been to Penrod, it's a wonderful experience. It was a beautiful day. And we literally laughed and cried all the way through that. And we had a spot where we had stopped to get dessert, and we were being silly and trying to, contain ourselves and be, the just mature people that we are.
That we are not.
We are not. And you accidentally stabbed me with a plastic fork. And so I said, somebody call the art police. I've been stabbed. And the young lady serving us the dessert was kind of like, what is going on with these two? And we're literally laughing and crying and trying to straighten ourselves up, because I had some other friends coming through and are like, if they see me like this. But I just didn't care, Sandy. We had that joy, we had that laughter along with our catching up time. So, but you've got young people in your life, and I know that you have been a great influence on that young person. And so, what kind of nuggets are you passing on to him, just to, in choosing friends? He's I want to say a brand new teenager approaching that age. What kind of things are you, kind of leaning into him on?
Yes, he just turned 13.
Okay.
So, and I have imparted to him that my biggest fear at the age of 13 was if I was called to go to the front of the classroom to pick up my homework assignment.
Right.
I was in deathly fear of tripping on the way up there.
Oh.
So I think that age, I would assume that everybody has those feelings. They're self-conscious.
Yes.
They want to have approval of everyone in their lives. So he'll share with me that maybe a friend has been disloyal to him, that he'll have a friend that maybe acts differently when there's other people around than he does when they're just alone. In other words, he kind of distances himself. So what I tell him, I try to put that in perspective. And, I ask him a lot of questions. And I said, do you think that is a friend that is loyal to you? And of course he said, well, no, not really. I said, so you can be friends and always be nice to people, be kind, but you can choose, and you can somewhat distance yourself from a friend that is not respectful to you all the time, and move toward friends who are more affirming and more loyal.
I like that a lot.
And I tell him, he has big goals, and for his career and for his life and for his future family. It's just so wonderful to hear him talk about that. So what I stress is, what your goals are, and what your values are. So all the circle of your friends, do they lead you closer to your goal and your values, or do they take you farther away from that?
Wow, I like that.
Do you tend to get in more trouble when you're with one versus the other? And my advice to him on that is run. So I tell him, just find and spend time with people that you enjoy being with, and to forget. I think sometimes kids get hung up in this striving to be at I call it the cool kids table in the lunchroom or whatever. And I just tell him, that's too much effort. You pick your friends that are loyal, that you have fun with, that share your values and have goals of their own and are not going to take you away from what you want to accomplish in your life.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Sandy. I have a similar, but not as in-depth as yours. It's a simple formula. Friendship is like math. People either add to you or they subtract from you. and that math is, addition is much better. But I love what you said about you listen, you ask lots of questions, you get in tune to him, you have a relationship. So it isn't just us standing on our, grown-up soapboxes, wagging a finger, you need to do this, you need to be doing that. So again, just that bond that he has with you is just absolutely essential in him navigating. I'm so, and I can't believe he's 13 already.
Oh, I know. I know. It's hard to remember that, actually.
Exactly.
And my husband says, well, he says it about, your potential marriage mate.
Yes.
He says that be sure they like you just the way you are.
Oh.
Because it's grief for people to try to change each other.
Oh, man.
Your basic personality. So, and my husband also says, he says, don't tell me you love me. Treat me like you love me.
Oh, that's
so
deep.
Talk is cheap.
Yes, treat me. Oh, now see, again, young men, young ladies, young folks, as you are navigating those early, perhaps boyfriend, girlfriend, relationship kind of things, the way you are treated is, they say one thing, but how are they in a pinch? How are they in a situation that could cause anger or sadness or whatever? That's really critical, Sandy. I love that. Well, I also want to bring up that, it goes without saying, Sandy, that you and I absolutely agree 100% on everything. That's correct? Is that correct? Or did
I don't think we found anything yet.
Yeah, and I'm being facetious. Of course we do not. And I want to ask your thoughts on when friends differ, perhaps it's religion or politics or fashion or culture or, how do we, again, not leaning towards social media, although a lot of folks express themselves with that, there are going to be differences. There just have to. If we were all cookie cutter, it'd be a very boring life. But I know that one of the things that we have done is we've just gently navigate each other through whatever those differences are. I've never recalled ever a time where you have been harsh or pounded your fist and you don't know this or you should know that. So how do good friends in lasting long-term relationships go about navigating differences?
Well, for us, we know each other so well. Mm-hmm. I know your background. I know your history. I know some of your past hurts,
yes.
your aspirations. And so I think that's how we talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's, we can disagree without even disagreeing almost.
Absolutely.
And understand that it's a lot of the way people are is based on their past. And I say sometimes we're all little 5-year-olds running around, just trying to get through life and trying to get approval from people. And so I just think there's a mutual respect.
Yes.
The history, loyalty, the support that we've given each other over the years. Mm-hmm. And we pray for each other.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I love that, Sandy. Sandy, early on, years before I began doing the podcast, I was talking with Sandy. We would meet, and talk about what I thought it might look like. And, she would give me, some advice sometimes or think about this or think about that. But long before we are sitting in front of the microphone, I trusted and continue to trust her with my dream. Irma Bombeck, I said, had the quote that it takes a lot of courage to share your dream. And she has shared her dreams with me. So you make yourself somewhat vulnerable because someone can laugh, what makes you think you can do that? Or, that's silly. That's what nobody's going to do. But you've never been that way. And again, the value of a long-term friendship is being able to disagree without being contentious or hateful or nasty to one another. So I've respected that all along. So, Sandy, you know, again, I never ever want my words to be the ones that resound. You've got some things to say. I want to lean a little bit into the benefits of long-term friendships, and I say one of the things is the either in your mind photo albums or the actual physical photo albums. And you know, me being a kid of the '70s, and you sort of in that same era, I think about, you know, the afros, and the bell-bottom jeans, and the love, peace, and hippie beads, and the Miami Vice vibes, and those kind of things. So when you go that arc of time, you know, you go out thinking, oh, I'm really looking good, and then you look back at that yearbook or whatever, you go, oh, who let me go out of the house looking like that? But I you know, to me, the arc of time involves those kinds of things. What do you feel about that?
You're right in that the era that we each grew up in, which
Yes.
is fairly close.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of commonality there, even though our experiences were different.
Right.
We were growing up in the same time with a lot of the same influence and history happening.
Yes.
So I think that adds to the long-term friendship. And I'll give you an example. My mother is 103 years old.
That is amazing.
She still has 2 of her lifelong friends around.
Wow. So we've only just begun.
I know. So it's kind of exciting that, you know, she's in assisted living. I make sure we're meeting with a friend of hers who is also 103, who still lives in her own home with
Wow.
with assistance. We're meeting for lunch on Friday
Man.
because it's not easy to get her out and so forth, just from a practical standpoint.
Yes.
But it's very important that they see each other and still have that connection. In fact, the woman that's 103 now, she and 3 others and my mom played golf until they were 95 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Two of them are still
Wow.
left. So
Wow.
and then there's another of her friends that she met in her 50s, which is over 50 years ago, that is in assisted living in Zionsville. And we went out there to see her. It was just, I understand, and probably based on our example, how important it is to still see those friends, even though it's been a long time.
That is key, Sandy, because loneliness is a real thing. And it, you know, for you isolate and become lonely, and kind of the older you get, of course, you know, that, you know, some of your friends don't have the longevity, and you lose friends through illness or death sometimes. So the fact that you're making sure that you're very instrumental in making sure they have those connections, it's okay to do the FaceTime and the digital, but there's just nothing that's going to replace that in-person energy.
That hug.
The hug. You cannot, yes, you cannot do it. You can digitally hug, but it's not going to be the same. So good for you for doing that, Sandy. And again, like I said, we don't, none of us know what that will mean in terms of, you know, how long we're going to have those friendships. But again, the mirror of what that reflects in your heart and my heart and the hearts of others, if you choose those friends carefully early, you have the advantage, you have the benefit of that. You hold each other accountable in those times. I know of a time I've stepped a little bit out of bounds with a comment, you know, just said frivolously, you know, it didn't really mean any harm, but I really should have just been sort of watching the way in which and the intent in which I said that. And you just gently guided me back to, well, now have you thought about this? Have you taken that perspective? And I had not. But I love that you held me accountable. You put my feet to the fire, but you didn't burn them. You didn't set me on fire. You did stab me with that fork, though. I ain't going to forget that, Sandy.
I think I'm going to hear about
Right,
that
you'll hear about that fork.
when we're both in the nursing home.
You're going to hear about that for a long time, Sandy. But Sandy, you go again. The core of what we're talking about. But I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to say the things that are on your heart and that are particularly in us guiding young people. The whole premise of this is better way, better choices. What choice will you make? What road will you take? And we're talking about. Our young days are behind us in terms of being teenagers and early 20s. But again, those people that you take into your life, you may be making those decisions early on. So, Sandy, what other, perhaps even parting words do you want to add?
I tell my grandson, in addition to choosing his friends who are, fun and he enjoys being with, to look for people who may need a friend.
Oh.
Look for somebody that seems a little bit of an outcast, and bring them into your circle of friends.
Wow.
I tell stories of my friends, and to help him get perspective that a lot of these people may be long-term friends. Another thing that, and this is kind of not frivolous, but maybe not as serious, but I think kids and pets.
Oh.
Pets can be their friends.
Oh, okay.
And a pet, what better example? I think especially dogs being so loyal. I mean, they are loyal friends through thick and thin. They don't
Yes.
care who you are or what. You are just on a pedestal in their eyes when you get home and that tail wags. And so I think, again, it doesn't sound that serious,
No,
but I
but
think it's a good example of what a
Yes.
good friend is. Another thing that comes to mind is I find that treating your friends the way you should helps you better embody what the Bible wants us to be.
Ah.
The humble servant, the greater love has no man than this, than he lays down his life for his friends. Again, on the very serious side, that's what we're called to do. And so I think that long-term friendships create in yourself that model of what a biblical relationship should be.
Absolutely.
So that hopefully you can translate that to new people you meet or difficult people and treat them with the same kindness and respect that you do your really good long-term friends.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that, Sandy. Yeah, I had a 50-year class reunion not long ago. And my class size was so huge. And I really almost didn't go because I thought, well, I really didn't know anybody. But then I rethought myself and thought, well, maybe I can make reconnections and it turned out that people remembered that, the lady with the big fro. They would say things like, well, we were in botany class together. You were my lab partner. And, and then I would recall them. And it just was we didn't know each other super well, but there was a moment in time that we shared together. And so it's to your saying, you may have a season of a friendship. You may have, just a quick encounter. You may have years and then someone may move. There are going to be all kinds of circumstances, but people enter and exit our lives, for a reason and for a season. So with that advice that you're passing on, I feel so good to know, first of all, that a young person has a safe space, a safe place to go to talk, to be able to express himself judgment-free. And I urge that to our listeners. Sometimes, hopefully it's a parent, maybe not, a mentor, someone in your life. Do not get yourself in a corner where you feel like no one is listening or what you're saying doesn't matter. Get that one-on-one relationship with someone. And talk with them about, what you're going through. Ask questions of a trusted person, someone who's, kind of on a crooked road themselves. You may or may not want to, you may be able to observe long enough and to say, maybe not. But, certainly you've created some safe spaces, Sandy. And I think that's wonderful. Well, it's very, very hard to wrap a ribbon around the expanse of a long-term friendship. But I hope that we've hit on some things for folks to think about. As you choose your friends, you become part of each other's fiber. You become a part of each other's thoughts and thinking and decision-making and accountability. We've experienced birth together, illness, death, all the in-between. We're shoulders to lean upon. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. And I had, my friend Tevin, he says, I don't want to be around friends who are doing things where I'm going to end up spending 300 years in jail with them.
Good advice.
I was like, wow, so you go, you'll pass away and come back and still have some more years to have to serve. So anyway, any parting words, Sandy, as we finish our merge?
Well, I like 1 John 4:11.
Oh, please.
Dear friends, since God loved us, we also ought to love one another.
Oh, wow. It does
Period.
not get any more simple than that. Love one another. Love one another. And again, with so much going on politically and, people feel some kind of way about something, again, the bottom line is going to be love, as we are loved. So, Sandy, I love you.
I love you too, Venus. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah.
So don't get us started. We'll have we'll go on and on for some time after this. But I will, I'll end on that note, Sandy, because there's no better word than his word to end on that. So, I always say, in the meantime, as we meet again or until we meet again, I urge you to merge onto a Better Way road. And the choices that you make and the people that you hang out with and spend time with you and you with they, those are critical decisions at critical junctions in your life. So if you don't know, you're not sure, get the advice of people who may be a little bit further down the road than you are. So, Sandy, thanks for being here today.
Oh, you're welcome. We always have fun.
Yes, I was going to say, never a loss for that. So
we were actually a little calmer than normal.
We really were. We were trying to contain ourselves, but. So we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.